Urban Education, Equity, and Improvement at Brigham University. Further, Dr. Whitaker also holds the distinction of being an appointed scholar of practice in residence at Defense University. Additionally, Dr. Whitaker is a Board of Trustees member for Newtonian Academy Charter School, former Pennsylvania Department of Education, equity expert, and a recommended speaker for American Program Bureau. Dr. Whitaker completed his doctoral degree in educational leadership at Tufts University. He also earned a master's degree in education at the University of Pennsylvania, a master's degree in business administration at Eastern University, and 2 undergraduate degrees from Geneva College, where he graduated magna cum laude. Additionally, Dr. Whitaker earned a certificate in culturally sustaining teaching from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and a certificate of diversity and inclusion from Cornell University. As a researcher and scholar, Dr. Whitaker publishes articles that focuses on the psychology of race and racism, issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, culturally relevant and sustaining pedagogy, and the societal and educational disenfranchisement of African American males. His scholarship has been included in books and handbooks such as The Ultimate Guide for Teachers to Multicultural Literature, The Beauty and the Burden of Being a Black Professor, The Handbook on Promoting Social Justice in Education, Culturally Responsive Teaching and Teaching in Higher Education, Social Justice and Education and Putting Theory into Practice in Schools and Communities, the Handbook of Research on Black Males, and then another handbook, the Handbook of Urban School Leadership. And that was a mouthful, right?
Yes, it was.
Busy, very busy man.
Yeah.
Dr. Whitaker presents his research at both national and international scholarly conferences and within K-12 educational settings. He is revered amongst colleagues for engaging in tough conversations in a respectful manner. Dr. Whitaker was a 2018 Delta Epsilon Sigma faculty inductee, a 2017 Black Theology Fellow at Princeton Theological Seminary, a 2016 American Educational Research Association, the Asa Hilliard and Barbara Sizemore Fellow, a 2014 Phi Kappa Phi inductee, and a 2012-2014 University Council for Educational Administration. Dr. Whitaker is the author of the forthcoming book titled Put Some Respect on My Name, The Fierce Urgency of Culturally Reverent Pedagogy for Black Males. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman that I'm about to bring forward is steeped in experience. So please give it up for Dr. Ronald W. Whitaker II.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right. And while you are celebrating me, hopefully you can do a better job of celebrating your esteemed basilisk, Dr. Darrell Blackwell. Come on, y'all. Let's give it up for Dr. Blackwell. Also, can we recognize the soon-to-be Dr. Julian Graham, who is the chair for this week's Achievement Week. Also, our honoree, who we will hear from really shortly, Dr. Womack. We celebrate you and also honor you. And everyone in this room, honestly, it is an honor to be here with you tonight on such an auspicious occasion. but also a critically important conversation that we need to have. So I'm very clear on a couple things. After you eat, you don't keep people too long, right? Because some things are going to set in. But there is a twofold mandate that I believe that I'm supposed to give to everyone that's in this room tonight, everyone that possibly is online, and that is both a celebration of this great fraternity, but also a charge that aligns with why today and why this week is critically important. So I just want to kind of just lift up a couple thoughts from the theme, the triple A's of achievement, right? The triple A's of achievement. I kind of want to walk through this framework that really illuminates what this gathering is all about. But let me take us back. On May the 21st, 1971, the late, great Marvin Gaye released his critically acclaimed album, which was titled What's Going On. And if anyone is familiar with history, here's what you understand about that album. Motown didn't want to release it. They didn't want to release the album because you have to think about this. In the mid 60s and the late 60s, Marvin Gaye was this sex symbol. Marvin Gaye was the star on Motown Records. He was known for making love songs. He was known for having these great ballads. And Barry was saying, we don't do that political stuff over here. We don't make political records. We don't make protest records. You need to stick to the script. You need to stick to the script and just sing these love songs. But Marvin, he's at a place in his life where we all have been at one time or another. And if you have never been there, trust me, you're going to get there. Marvin was dealing with some personal challenges. His money was funny. He was going through a bad breakup, which ended in a divorce. But then also Marvin, Dr. Womack, catch this, he was cognizant of everything that was happening from a global perspective. Marvin is saying, how am I going to keep on making these love songs when we got brothers that are over in Vietnam that are getting killed, but once they come back, they are still treated as second-rate citizen? I got to ask the question, what's going on? So Marvin said, well, you know what? If you don't want to release it, it's cool, because I won't release another album for you. Now, ultimately, Barry Gordy said, okay, cool. You have your way. Release the album. And a couple of years ago, Rolling Stones magazine, they did a list of the 500 most influential albums of all time. Number one on that list was the song, not just the song, but the album, which is titled Marvin Gaye's What's Going On from Marvin Gaye. So that situates some of the arguments, again, that I want to raise tonight, where we have to existentially wrestle with that question, what's going on? So when I talk about the triple A's, the first A that I need to bring up is the need for us to be accountable, right? The need for us to be accountable to what this week is all about, what your fraternity is all about, what us as Black men, what we should be about. Now, Dr. Blackwell, you probably know this, but we are in the city of Philadelphia, which, as reports would suggest, out of the 10 largest U.S. cities, Philadelphia has the highest poverty rate. So the 10 largest U.S. cities, Philadelphia is number one when it comes to poverty. So obviously, that shouldn't surprise us when we think about the intersections. What goes with that? Violence. When we look at what's going on with our school system. And this is why we have to be accountable to what this week is all about and what your fraternity is all about. But not only that, when we think about what's happening here in Philadelphia, it's also a depiction, a sad depiction of what a lot of economists are predicting. So what they're predicting is that by 2053, which is right down the street from us, the Black median household wealth will be zero. Y'all just catch what I'm saying? It will be zero. But then when we think about also what's going on, we have these so-called academic achievement gaps, which is nothing more than opportunity gaps. We have healthcare gaps. We have wealth gaps. We got gaps in terms of life expectancy. But at the core, catch this, Julian, and hopefully you're citing Dr. Eddie Glaude. Dr. Eddie Glaude, he makes this argument that the reason that we have all of these gaps is because we're dealing with America's original sin. And here's what Dr. Glaude would argue. He argues that America's original sin is not racism, but it's the value gap, right? He argues it's the value that we put on white bodies in comparison to everyone else. And he said, until we deal with the value gap, we're going to keep on having every other gap that exists. And he suggests this in his follow-up book, where he says the reason that these gaps persist is because America keeps lying. Did y'all just hear what I'm saying? He said America keeps on lying, where they're suggesting that, you know what? Racism doesn't exist. Y'all hear that? Where they're suggesting that, you know what? Everyone has the same opportunities. And for those of us that work in the education fields or sociology fields or other fields that we're on the ground, we realize that it's sad that even in 2023, an individual zip code determines what resources they will get. So when we think about this first A about accountability, it reminds me of Ubuntu. That I am because we are. And because we are, I am. And we got to understand that, you know what? We got to be accountable to one another. When I'm thinking about Julian Graham, your brother Julian Graham, the reason why I'm on him to do a dissertation is not so we can walk across the stage. That's going to happen. But we need his research to matter in real life. Because I don't know about you, but black and brown bodies are still catching hell. Black and brown bodies are still dealing with what Du Bois would argue in his book, Souls of Black Folk in 1903, that we are still viewed as problems in society. Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, who is a professor here at Temple University, what he suggests is that people are viewing us as nobodies. This is why we have to be accountable to one another. But then the second A I want to give us is the importance of having the right attitude. Here's what my grandma would say, Dr. Womack, she would say, we got to get rid of this stinking thinking. We got to get rid of thinking too low. Now, when I did my research about the history of Omega Psi Phi, what I found out is that in the 60s, Malcolm X was invited to Morgan State University to have a debate. And they said that they had to turn people away because folk wanted to hear Malcolm X. Because people didn't want to hear pomp and circumstance. They wanted to hear the truth. And they said that Malcolm was going to give them the truth. Well, here's the truth if we're going to study Malcolm X. And I hope that everybody in this room, at least one time in your life, you have read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Here's what Malcolm X would ask us tonight. Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? That when you look in the mirror, you feel as though you're less than somebody. Who taught you to hate yourself? That when you walk in rooms, you feel as though you don't belong there. That we're dealing with an imposter syndrome. Who taught you to hate yourself as if the programs and the initiatives that we launched, that they're substandard? That's what Malcolm X would ask all of us tonight. That, you know what, we got to rise up. We have to have a better attitude. But then I heard Dr. Blackwell lift up one of my heroes, Carter G. Woodson. And Dr. Woodson, he raises this book in his, this claim, I should say, in his influential book, The Miseducation of the Negro. He said, if you can control a man's thinking, you ain't never got to worry about that person's actions. Y'all just hear what I said? That's what he said in 1933. He said, all I got to do is just control your thinking. And I never have to worry about what comes next. Carter G. Woodson said this, if it's not a backdoor because of the lies that have been given to us, we will go make a backdoor. What am I saying when I'm talking about attitude? What I'm suggesting, Julian, is that Far too often we settle for less because we believe that's all that we should have. And if it's not us, it's our brothers, it's our cousins, it's our family members on the outside. That you got a lot of young brothers walking up and down Broad Street tonight with tattooed tears, which is nothing more than a symbol of pain, a symbol that they are less than. You got a lot of young sisters don't understand their value and their worth. They think that if I don't twerk on TikTok, then I'm not worth anything. And this is why this is not about a conversation. This is about a commitment to be accountable to one another, to go deeper on the programs, go deeper on the initiatives, go deeper on the great mandates of this fraternity. But then when we think about, even from a symbolism standpoint, and intersecting that with the importance of having the right attitude, catch this. Do y'all even realize what your colors represent? When you put the purple on, that represents what? Royalty. When you put the gold on, that represents value. The message that we need to give to not just young brothers, but young sisters, to communities, is that we are a royal people. As much as I appreciate 1619, I don't mean to hurt anybody. Our history didn't start at 1619. There's a history before 1619. And when you go before 1619, you cannot talk about anything without talking about the contributions of individuals of African descent. You cannot talk about history. You cannot talk about medicine. You cannot talk about science. You cannot talk about business. You cannot talk about architecture. Even for those that want to talk about religion and Christianity, you can't even talk about Christianity without talking about individuals of African descent. We are royal folk. We are folk with value, and that's the message that we need to give. But then there's something else when we talk about the triple A's. Number one, it was accountability. We got to be accountable to one another. But then number two, it's an attitude where we got to change the way that we're thinking. We got to get back to what this week is all about, getting in our history, being motivated, being celebrated in terms of listening to the narratives of our ancestors and our elders that came before us. But then when we think about the last A, it's about altitude, where we got to go higher. But let me close with this story. April the 3rd, 1968 is a very important date in the history, not just of African Americans, but in history, period. April the 3rd, 1968 was the day that Dr. Martin Luther King gave his last speech, which is known as the Mountaintop Address. And Dr. King gave that speech in Memphis, Tennessee. And before he gave that speech, he had a rough day because he started out his morning, he was in Atlanta, Georgia. And then before getting to Memphis, Tennessee, his flight was delayed. His flight was delayed because they said Dr. King is on the flight and we can't go yet because we're thinking it may be a bomb on this plane. So the flight was delayed about an hour and a half. They finally get in the air and Dr. King lands in Memphis, Tennessee. And he says, I'm just going to chill at the Lorraine Motel because nobody wants to come hear me talk tonight. And he said, nobody's going to come out because it was a storm in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a bad storm. And he said, no one is going to come to the Mason Temple to hear me speak. So Dr. King, he's chilling in the Lorraine Motel. And then he gets a call from his closest friend, Dr. Ralph Abernathy. And Dr. Abernathy called Dr. King and said, Doc, we need you over here at the Mason Temple because it's 2,000 folk that's in here tonight. And they want to hear you speak. And Dr. King said, okay, he gets on his clothes and he goes to the Lorraine Motel and he gives them 45 minutes of excellence where he's talking about the best of who we are. He's talking about his own life's journey, the ups, the downs, the good days, the bad days. And Dr. King says this, that even though it was a storm, sometimes we need storms in life because it's only in the darkness that you can see the light. So here's what I want to give us, brothers, as I'm concluding with my remarks. We are living in times where there are a whole lot of storms. When we think of everything that's going on, the Supreme Court decision that banned race intermissions, that's a storm. When we think about books being banned all across America, that is a storm. When we think about individuals afraid to go out to certain places in certain communities because they don't think that they will be accepted in those communities because of racial profiling and hostile policing, that is a storm. When we think about what's going on in the city of Philadelphia, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Memphis, Tennessee, I could go on and on. Those are a whole lot of storms. But catch this. Whenever you are dealing with storms on a plane, here's what I realized. And this just happened to me a few months ago. The pilot said, I need y'all to put on your seatbelt because we're going through a storm cloud. And he said it's going to get rocky. And he said it's going to be a little bit turbulence. And it's going to be for a few minutes. But the next thing you know, after all of the rocking and getting through the storms, we started to go up higher. And the higher we went, guess what? We didn't see the storms anymore. We saw the sun. We saw the light. So what I'm arguing as I conclude is that we got to go higher, y'all. We got to go higher. And guess what? This fraternity knows something about a storm. Because as history would tell us, on November the 17th, 1911, that's when your fraternity was founded. And as history would suggest, it was a storm that night in Washington, D.C. It was a bad storm that night. But yet, the brother said, forget about the storm, we got work to do. So I just want to tell y'all, go a little bit higher on the great mandates of this fraternity. Go a little bit higher on your cardinal principles of manhood and scholarship and perseverance and uplift. Go higher on your motto of friendship being essential to the soul. Go higher on what this week is all about. Go higher on programs and initiatives, because in doing that, that's when we're truly giving honor to what this week is all about. Thank y'all. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay, cool.
I don't even know if I want to say anything after that. My God, Dr. Whitaker, thank you tremendously for that. Those words as it matches the theme of our week, right? Being harmonious. And it kind of connects back to something I posted the video. We'll share it again with what Dr. Harris said about us doing more for our undergrads, just making those connections, right? Because that is the future of our fraternity, of our chapters, of our grad chapters. But being none, like I said, I ain't got nothing to say, man. That was awesome. That was awesome. And we have it recorded, so we will make sure you get a copy of that. I'm going to bring up our immediate past boss list, Brother James Sanders, to begin to announce the award winners. Also, Dr. Blackwell, if you can come up as well to also help hand out the plaques to these great brothers who have put in the work to get these distinctive honors. Thank you. All right, Brother Sanders. You don't want to do this.
Okay. My man. All right. One more time for Dr. Whitaker. That was awesome. Standing ovation, really. I had a thought. I was thinking to myself, Dr. Blackwell, our cameraman, is actually to slide over. I was thinking to myself when I was sitting over there, if I wasn't in this fraternity, after that speech, I would want to be in this fraternity. Right? I'm just saying. So hand me anyone, dog, so we can get started. Yeah, we're going to make this expeditious because we will have our Citizen of the Year give an awesome speech at the end of it. All right, so right here for the Mu Omega chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is our Superior Service Award for the second year in a row, Brother Evan Battaglio, in recognition of his continuous spirit of service to our beloved chapter. As you know, Brother Battaglio is our head of our Social Action Committee, Blood Drive, and so much more. So we're going to have one of his line brothers to come up to accept his award. Yep, you hold that. All right, take a rest of the seat. All right. And he's not here. Yeah, this is interesting. So this award is our Bridge Builder Award. This Bridge Builder Award goes to a brother in our chapter in recognition of their steadfast resolve as an active past Basili of the mighty Mu Omega chapter and their commitment to building a bridge that connects generations from past and present while exemplifying our cardinal principles of our fraternity. This award goes to our own brother, Howard James, Brother Porky. So he's not here right now, so we're just going to take a photo and then move on. All right. Thanks, brother. Yeah, he don't have the line brothers here. Beautiful. You good? Toss me the next one. All right. Yep. Here we go. All right. And this next award is our Founders Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of your demonstration of our cardinal principles and years of service to the mighty Mu Omega chapter as well as Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And this brother is let me see. It's hard to say because he has worked tirelessly for many, many years in supporting the chapter and the work that he's done. And one of the founding members of the mighty Cuvettes who had a program today, none other than one of the past Basili, Brother Dave Royal Benson. Yes. Yep. Pick a side, dog. Pick a side. Yeah. It's for you. Yep. Tighten up. We can get close. Here? Yeah. Here, hand me the hat. I got you.
Part of my uniform.
Beautiful. Here you go. Next up. Yep, let's go with that one. Then we go to Basili. Yeah. All right, brothers, we have a guest. So this next award is the Mu Omega Chapter Award for the Brigadier General Charles D. Young Military Leadership Award. This award is in recognition of the leadership provided by this brother for service to the Mu Omega chapter and the community, as well as to the military. So that brother is our own brother, William Smith. We know him as Bill Smith. They call him Cabaret because he can dance. I'll dance anybody in this room, even at this age. I've seen it. You want your hat on? You want to keep it on? Yes, sir. Slide over to the left. To the left. Yeah. Let's pay attention to him. Beautiful. Thank you. Sure. This is a Lifetime Achievement Award, so he's going to say a few words.
I would be remiss if I did.
Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you.
Doing good, bro. Appreciate you.
For your inspiring words. Right. We all know that life is not a sprint, but it's a marathon.
Okay.
And if you've ever watched the runners during a marathon, there are people out there along the way that will pass out cups of water, and oranges, and all kinds of accolades of support. So the words from Dr. Whitaker definitely encourages me to continue on the race that I must run until I get to the end of my dash. Okay. Each one, reach. I've always been an advocate of that. And leading by example. I was shy and unassuming when I was coming up until I realized, as Dr. Whitaker said, that I had potential, that I had leadership potential, that I could motivate, and I could be motivated. Okay? One of the best commands that you can have in life as a military leader is for your commander to say, company commanders, battalion commanders, take charge of your units, meaning go back to your people and continue to lead and work to accomplish your mission. I couldn't be where I am today with respect to the fraternity as a past bosselist or my role in the Cuvettes without all of you brothers who have played a role in this. So I thank you. I thank you all for the bottom of my heart.
All right, moving along with the program again, Brother Bill Smith with the Lifetime Achievement Award. That's a big deal. All right. Next up, we have the Bosphorus Awards. We'll have 3 of these awards. These gentlemen each have provided some awesome support to the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, our esteemed chapter, the Mu Omega chapter, and the Bosphorus during that time, which is myself. And they continue to provide support and service to this chapter. So first up, we have Brother Tim Turner, the current Keeper of Records and Seal, for his leadership and his service as Assistant Keeper of Records and Seal, and going above and beyond to serve the office of the Bosphorus while supporting the Bosphorus of the Mu Omega chapter, as well as Omega Psi Phi Fraternity and various other committees. Brother Turner. Congratulations. You got it. All right. This businessman was running one of his businesses, managing his family, and so many more responsibilities. And I had to make sure I called him up to have him hit a pause on the life that he's running to get here to be with his brothers for a few minutes while we present him with an award. And this award, this is a Bosphorus Award. This brother served as Keeper of Finance, Assistant Keeper of Finance, and worked supporting many of the committees over the years since he's come into this fraternity. This award goes to Brother Richard Snow. Congrats. There you go. So you need a wide lens for this one, right? This way. He wants you to go back a little bit. Right.
Go behind him a little bit.
All right.
Is that cool?
I'll tell you later about mine. Oh, my man.
There we go. Beautiful. You got it. All right. This next award is the last Bosphorus Award. This brother was a little surprised, but it's no surprise to me. He's been a utility man, a Swiss Army knife, if you will, and he's been pinch hitting on many of our committees. He's also worked in several capacities on the executive committee, currently serving as an assistant keeper of records and seal in our chapter. And there are many times when I needed something on some of the past Bosphorus, and we asked this brother to get it done. And he, in his own right, is a director in his work, traveling across the country, sometimes out of the country. Most of the time, 98% of the time, he said yes. right? He only said no is if he literally could not deliver on it, all right? Yeah, but most of the time he said yes. And so I say that because this brother has consistently delivered, even though his schedule's busy, even if he had his kids in the back of the car, in the back seat, and he had to run some errands, he did it. All right. So we want to thank brother Nathan Hurt. This Bosses Awards go to brother Nathan Hurt. Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. I got something to say.
We actually did this right in front of him. He didn't even know we were doing it.
Yeah. This way. Keep sliding.
But why
Right.
All right.
Good.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yes,
you.
All right. So this award in the fraternity is one of the most coveted, most exciting awards. You know, prior to coming into this fraternity, I didn't know, didn't understand. I came to some of these meetings, saw these awards being given out. I just didn't get it. But after being in the fraternity for a number of years and watching some of these brothers, I understand. This award specifically is near and dear to me and I'm sure many other brothers. This award is the Omega Man of the Year Award, right? The Omega Man of the Year Award for those brothers in this chapter who have been or who are Omega Men of the Year and have been, you know, sort of enshrined in that group of men in this chapter. Know that the Omega Man of the Year has unwavering commitment to this chapter and they expect nothing for it. They don't look for anything, unwavering commitment. And when it's time to step up, they step up, even if not asked, they step up, provide time, talent, treasure. And to that, I'll end with this last story and then I'll present the award. When I became Bosseless, it was a challenging task. When I was interim Bosseless, even more challenging task. And I looked around and some things I just didn't know how to do, right? Because of either stress or things being new to me. And this brother, I asked him a couple of questions and he literally answered the questions, showed me a couple of things and made it real smooth. As an interim Bosseless, the first thing I had to do was an Omega service. And I had no idea, right? He pulled that one off and I had to do a couple of them. And so to that, even when it came to running the meetings, most people would think this brother in this position would only know about his role. Inaccurate. He knew about each and every role, plus some. And the work and the service and the value that this brother provides, continuously provides, is unmatched. And to that, the 2023 Achievement of Week, Omega Man of the Year, goes to our own Reverend Brother Richard F. Norris II.
Good job, Nathan. Outstanding job. Way good. Really good.
Congrats.
Yeah, Nate on you.
Yeah, right?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Go behind me a little bit.
Slide.
One more. Got you. Bring Dave back if I'm getting this hat on. I messed up.
You want, okay. You good, thanks. Brother Benson, you gotta do a retake. Come on back up here.
You want to give Brother Norris some words?
Yeah, Brother Norris, you want to speak? You want some words?
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, you ready? All right, come on. Up there. Hold that in front of you. I don't want you to. You want me to hold it? I don't want you to cover your. That's good. You good?
Still got it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Good message. Let's go. All right.
Beautiful.
I give a speech every week, so I don't know if I got to finish mine for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's an honor and a privilege. I'm humbled and I'm honored. I just always wanted to be, after being a Q, after becoming a chaplain, being a chaplain to be proud. And I'm proud to be an Omega. I'm proud to be from you, Omega. And root to the Q.
Are you? I don't know what church y'all go to, but if you ever met this chaplain right here, I ain't saying, there's a lot of soft, chaplains out there, but this is a tough dude, right? If you ever been around him, I'm just going to let you know. All right. So this next award is our Citizen of the Year. I'm going to read his bio. We have a video that we might play, but we want to be on time with our presentation here. So just to add a little, commentary, any brother who has a doctor in front of their name, there's 3 of them in a room, or in back, a PhD, EDD, kind of doctor, their resumes and CVs or curriculum vitae, they're like 20 pages, right? They're all very long, right? Is that correct, Joe? Right. I'm just going to look at the one. So Dr. Womack sent me both of his, right? He sent me the abridged version, the short one. Then he sent me the regular version. That one was like 30 pages. 9 pages, just kidding. So I'm going to read the 1-pager that he so briefly provided to me, and I appreciate that. And when Dr. Womack is up here, he'll be able to share some additional information. We'll talk a little bit about this Achievement Week award. We on the Achievement Week committee this year wanted to make it very, very clear to all of the honorees that they were being honored, so that it wasn't a surprise and you weren't in the room when the award was given. And if you wanted to tell friends or family, you got a chance to do that. So let me go through this dialogue. Dr. Chad Womack serves as the Vice President and National STEM Programs and Tech Initiatives and the Executive Director of the Innovation and Research Inspired STEM Empowerment Center, IRISE, at the United Negro College Fund. We know it as the UNCF. Through his leadership, UNCF has raised over $100 million to support STEM. STEM is now one of our mandated programs, hence the theme. And so he raised that $100 million to support STEM programs that include the annual HBCU Tech Innovation Summit, UNCF STEM Scholarship Program, HBCU CS Academy, HBCU CS Tech Pathways Initiative, Tech Ventures, and you may like this next one, the Ernest Everett Just Life Science Institute and Fellowship Program. The Ernest Everett Just Life Science Institute manages fellowship programs that support the career development of African Americans in the life sciences and is dedicated to building research capacities at HBCUs. Dr. Womack is also the founding managing director of the Applied Research Institute for Mathematics and Computational Science, or ARI, established as a collaborative platform to support and network HBCU faculty conducting research and artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity, data science, and analytics. In addition, Dr. Womack manages several partnerships with several industry intermediaries, organizations including pharma, bio, and Silicon Valley leadership groups. So Dr. Womack has more to talk about, and what I'd like to do is invite Dr. Womack up here shortly. But before I do that, I want to check with our chairman to see if we can play this video. Is that? No? Okay. All right. So we'll move on. And the Citizen of the Year Award is granted to an individual for the recognition of their outstanding contributions to society and the community abroad. This one specifically is focused on STEM, entrepreneurship and innovation, and a commitment to working with minorities locally and nationally. With that, I'll invite Dr. Chad Womack to accept his award and give some remarks. We're going to give some remarks. We'll take a picture real quick. Yeah, come up. Not the whole lot of funny Some big guys. Slide over. This way? Yeah. Good? All right.
All right.
You're up.
Let me first say thank you. I've known James for a little bit, and really an honor to be honored. I humbly accept this honor, and I want to first give all praise to the Almighty. And I want to say thank you to you, Mega Chapter,
Want to give it to him?
giving me an opportunity to say thank you.
We want to mic you up real quick. Yeah.
And say a little bit about what I do and why it might have some relevance to what the chapter and the fraternity is trying to do. But let me first say that there are three things that I always tell people who are trying to know me and what I'm trying to do professionally and in life. Number one, I'm a brother from Philly, born and raised. My mother and father attended the first HBCU, Cheney, which was founded in 1837 as the Institute for Colored Youth in South Philly. I say that because my HBCU roots go back a ways, and the work that I try to do is connected directly to HBCUs. Secondly, I'm a scientist. I knew I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid. I was very fortunate to have two parents who were educators in the school district of Philadelphia. My father actually eventually moved on to higher ed at Drexel and then Temple. And so I was surrounded by Black teachers and Black educators growing up in East Mount Airy in Germantown, to the point where I didn't even know there was another profession. All the people in our house and community were all teachers. And thirdly, the most important thing is I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, a very proud one. Morehouse College and Morehouse School of Medicine. But as a family member of HBCUs, I'm very proud to be connected to historically Black colleges and universities. They are the institutions that we own. They belong to us. They're special to us. And in the work that we do at the UNCF, we raise a lot of money to support our schools, our faculty, and our students. I wanted to say that my journey to the programs that I run really was through science. And when I was at Morehouse, I spent a lot of time not just learning science, but the history of science. How many people have laid their hands positively on me and others as we went through Morehouse, and my colleagues who went through other HBCUs like Howard, Hampton, and we can go down the list. That tradition of supporting students has been a tradition that HBCUs have had since their inception. And so the work that I do really is to try to connect our schools, our campuses to places like Silicon Valley through programs, some of whom James mentioned. Our faculty, we try to support them, and most importantly, our students. But when I graduated from Morehouse in 1988, I really knew nothing about Dr. Just. It wasn't until I was in Boston finishing my graduate program at Harvard that I picked up a very special book called The Black Apollo of Science, written by Dr. Kenneth Manning. And in that book, which I'm sure most of you have read, if you haven't, you should, because it's all about the life of the founder of Omega Psi Phi, one of the founders, Dr. Ernest E. Just. And it took me all of maybe 10 minutes to have that very special feeling of getting to know historically someone who was just tremendous. What Dr. Ernest Everett Just did in his life was something that I tried to incorporate into my own. He is my historical hero. What that brother was doing back 100 years ago is groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. His impact is still being felt today. He basically created the life science program at Howard University, one of our flagship HBCUs. He created the medical school curriculum, and he had a great vision for how Black folks could thrive in science. Sometimes we remark the fact that his biggest battle wasn't just with white racism, but it was with Black leadership on his own campus, and his big battle with the president at the time, who was a Morehouse brother. was to try to get Howard and HBCUs to invest in building more capacity. So I decided back then in the 90s, as I was finishing my graduate degree, to dedicate my life to support African Americans in the life sciences and to honor the legacy of Dr. Ernest E. Just. And so I was waiting for the moment where I could invest money, time, and energy into doing that. And UNCF gave me the opportunity to do that. So we launched the Ernest E. Just Life Science Initiative, now Institute and Society, some 5 years ago with funding from Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech, and from Chan Zuckerberg. I'm happy to say that the society named after Dr. Ernest E. Just now has over 1,000 members. We are now connected to Black scientists across the world, not just here in the US. We have Black scientists in the UK and in some places in South America that are connected. Each year, we're going to dedicate an event, an annual research conference named after Dr. Ernest E. Just, and a award ceremony where we will honor the best and brightest amongst us, of which there are many, to receive actual award and to lift up African Americans who are in the life sciences and support them. A lot of the work that I do at UNCF also is to connect at the local level too. So here in Philly, we're going to be doing some things, hopefully with the School District of Philadelphia and some other local education agencies. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't ever seek attention, and it's quite frankly not my personality to be on stage. I want to pause and say thank you to Dr. Whitaker for your inspiring words. Having graduated from Morehouse, I've heard a whole bunch of speeches and sermons and so forth. I have to rank yours as one of the best I've heard in a while, so thank you for sharing those words. But thank you to this chapter, thank you to the fraternity for honoring me, and whatever I can do to be supportive of your work here in the community and across the country, I'm honored to do so. Thank you.
Joe Pierce.
Oh, right. Well, thank you, Dr. Bowman, for those words and for what you contribute to the community, not just the community, but to Black boys and girls nationally. Appreciate your work. I'm also a fan of STEM. I'm a licensed drum pilot, so
Oh, great.
trying to get to them how to program those bad boys.
That's right.
So a lot of y'all see those games and stuff, and you see like it looks like something like a statue's moving in the sky. Well, that's STEM. Those are drones. They're programmed with algorithms to do what they do. So it's really amazing how far that technology has come. So thank you for your work in STEM. Appreciate that. I am going to bring up none other than our bossless Dr. Blackwell on the document. Come on up to the podium, sir, so we can close on out.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, this has been a great Achievement Week program. Let's give it up one more time for Brother Chair. All of our awardees. And of course, our keynote speaker, Dr. Whitaker. And yes, that was very inspiring. That's something that, I definitely want to take to my students at my school. And then also, and we can use that at the chapter, the three A's, right? So accountability, attitude, and altitude. So I appreciate those words very much. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for coming out. We appreciate you. Look forward to more inspiring events from Mu Omega chapter. We are doing great things, so stay in contact. MuOmegaQs.com. MuOmegaQs.com. Again, thank you so much for coming out, and that ends our program.
Thanks.
Brother Norris, Brother Chaplain, we need you to close us out properly.
You work for that award.
Yeah, right? I ain't giving it back. All right, let us pray. Now unto him who was able to keep us from falling and to present us faultless before his throne with exceeding great joy, the one and only wise God our Father, be all power, glory, dominion, and honor. May he continue to bless and smile upon you, Omega Chapel, and make us our Father fraternity. People of God said together, amen.
Amen.
Before I go, couple things. One, we want to get all the awardees to come up front with the picture of all the awardees. Then we'll get a picture with the brothers, right? There's one more.
Everybody.
And then a
Let's
picture.
do everybody first.
So let's do everybody first. Everybody come on. Everybody's here. Come on. If you can fit up there, get me on the knee.
Everybody first. Go to the screen. Everybody go to the screen. Everybody go to the screen.
Maybe we get